Hello, welcome again if you're a returning viewer, and hello if you're a new viewer. This is a very short clip this time because I discovered when I was reviewing the video that the battery in the camera had run out of juice, and of course I didn't know that till I got to another point along the way and then stopped to change cameras. One camera that I use has a blinking LED that tells you that it's still working and still recording, and the other camera, the one I'm using the first part of the journey, doesn't have such a facility, so you have to estimate about how long you've been going for. It has a battery life of about 2 hours, so you have to estimate about 2 hours and then think it's time to change cameras. And unfortunately I wasn't paying enough attention to the clock on the dashboard of my bike to realise that the 2 hours were up and the camera had stopped recording. So there's going to be a gap between the end of this video and getting to Lake George. We continue along this Bungendore road, or this Sutton road, from Bungendore to the Federal Highway for quite a while, and then just before it reaches the Federal Highway, take a right turn down a road called Doust Road, which runs parallel to the highway for about 1 kilometre or two, and then take a left turn onto the highway and then over Brooks Creek up a hill onto Lake George. So you haven't really missed very much. If you watch my previous motorcycle video, you'll see there's some sections on the area from Lake George to Goulburn, so you might be able to pick it up in those videos. Just in the section that we're going through now, it's called Smith's Gap. It's quite a steep rise, and it takes you out of what I guess is best described as the depression or the dip that is Lake George, and up onto the flat, and then the hills, or the rim of the saucer, as I described earlier, that is part of Lake George. And you probably, if you watch the last video, you'll get a better understanding of that. A moment ago, we passed a sign that said Bywong, and my memory is that my children were at school, and the youngest of my children is in his 30s, so when my children were in primary school, there used to be an historic village type experience that children could go to there, experience what it was like to live in colonial times. Now, I don't know if that still operates or not, with some gold mining and other sort of things that gave you an idea of what it was like to live in Australia or in New South Wales or in this region during the colonial times. On this road there are also a number of wineries. I think I mentioned that earlier, and very shortly I'll come up to a intersection marked Norton Road, which will be on the left, and Norton Road, if you take it, will take you on to the Sutton Road and then Queanbeyan, but between this Sutton Road and that Sutton Road, on Norton Road, you'll go through an area called Womboyne. Womboyne is a locality more than anything. There are no businesses there, but there are lots of houses. People have sort of moved out of Queanbeyan or moved out of Canberra to there for more land. There's a church, I think. There are sort of yoga studios. There are several wineries and function centres. And it's quite a nice little ride through there from Queanbeyan. So you come out of Queanbeyan, you take the Yass Road, then you turn off the Yass Road just before you'll see a sign that says Sutton. You take that road, you follow that, and about halfway between there and the Federal Highway, you'll see the turn off that says Womboyne and Norton Road, and you take that. So this road we're looking at the moment, as I said, is the road between Bungendore and the Federal Highway. You can see that it's in pretty good condition most of the way. There are markings down the centre and markings on both sides, and in some places there are those big tall pine tree windbreaks. Other cases land's a bit more open, but most of the time I get that sense of spaciousness that I talked about with roads, rather than that closed-in feeling that the trees are right at the edge of the road and sort of get that bit of a closed-in feeling. You can see there are guardrails in places where they're needed, and generally is a fairly smooth ride. It's not glass smooth, of course, but no roads are. But it's not sort of full of potholes and bumps and things like that. And you can see by the fact that the camera's reasonably still that the suspension of the bike's not bouncing around all over the place and making the camera rattle a lot as well. lines marking here. Always a good idea to pay attention to those things. I often sometimes have experiences with people behind me who get impatient because I'm not going fast enough or something, and they ignore the double lines and want to pass me. I'm always concerned about what might happen to them, but of course what might happen to me if they meet something coming the other way. Those lines on the road are there for a good reason, and it's usually a good idea to take notice of them. I think some of this land is agricultural land and it's used for farming and so on, and I think some of it is just crown land that has no use at all. There are a number of other roads that lead off this road, but most of them are marked as no through road, so I guess they just go down to people's properties. Right, we're coming almost to the end of the video, so again I'll say thank you for watching. Very short one this time. We'll be back the next one where I'll be at Lake George and be changing cameras, and then I'll talk to you about the... Thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.